Welcome, Reanimated fans. We are here on the West Coast and on the East Coast. I am on the East Coast with my intrepid West Coast co-host.
It sounded like you weren't sure which coast you were on there for a second.
For a moment, I was not. I'm running on some lack of sleep and not enough caffeine, or maybe too much caffeine. I can't decide. I am H.A. Conrad, here with my wonderful co-host, as always, Stuart Tiffin. He's been battling some wildfires in his area, but seems to be unscathed at this point, which is awesome. So how's life out there?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. There is scary plumes of smoke on the horizon every so often. And I was at the beach yesterday and looking south. The fire is north of me, mind you, but looking south, the coast was obscured by smoke. Ooh. And I was just like, this is not good. Yeah, so we just live in a bit of a scary, protracted fire season. We got months to go in front of us. So
oh my goodness.
That's what we're looking at.
Let's hope for some rain, and some air clearing, I hope. But we'll keep checking in. And today is a light news item day, not really all that much. So we're going to jump into our review of Freakish, which is basically the remainder of season 1. Episodes 5 through, is it 11 or 10?
10.
10.
Yeah, 10.
And so given that we have so many episodes to get through, let's just kick it off. Kick it off. Thoughts overall, Mr. Tiffin?
Thoughts overall, I would keep watching this. It's kind of it's light. It's like popcorn zombie stuff. But it's also still those short episodes. It's just like popcorn and chill, like freakish and chill.
Yeah,
like the kids might say.
Okay, so there's definitely some bright points and there's some good moments in it that I really like. I definitely have a limit of how many I can get through, despite the fact that they're 20 minutes. They feel some of the timing again to me feels very long.
Watching 6 in a row was a chore.
That was a little bit of a chore. I definitely, some of the Dawson's Creek-esque little romance things and some of the things that they do just grated upon me. But
the super saccharine pop music that comes in every time they're trying to have like a romantic moment. Yes.
There's that, but it's also kind of funny, so I can't tell if that's on purpose or it's just my weird sense of humor. I don't know. And then there's also sort of the classic things that you hate with, or I hate with sort of zombie shows, which it's like specifically Zoe yelling LaShawn all the time into like a very loud walkie-talkie when the poor dude's out there trying to avoid the freaks.
Trying not to make any noise.
Right. It's like, LaShawn! LaShawn? I mean, seriously, it was like, ooh, please stop. Grating. Anyway, but there were some really good things in it. I definitely enjoyed some of the choreography. I enjoyed some of the zombie kill scenes. I thought that was pretty good. And so I'm going to give it mixed. I feel like it is popcorn. So I'm not going to, it's not like I wished I had never watched it. And there is a season 2, which I would watch. So I give it kind of like, if it's, you're just kind of in the mood for something lighter, on the lighter zombie side, this is it. But to me, there's fewer freaks than there should be for a zombie show in general. But,
This is as light as this is. It's still, and I haven't seen the Disney Zombies musical show or whatever.
Oh,
it's nowhere near that. And it's nowhere near iZombie level of light either. This is still basically framing itself like a, what was the name of that British one we watched that was about the reality TV show? I've seen it a bunch of
Yeah, something. We'll call it Project Zombie, but that's like, I know what you're talking about.
Dead Set. It was called Dead Set. It's
not
as
like
good
that.
as Dead Set, but it wants to be like Dead Set.
Yeah. I just felt like with a little tweaking, the editing and the writing could have been improved like significantly. And it's, as I said, 20 minutes is not that much, but you could pack a lot into that. And I just feel like some of the things they try to build between certain characters doesn't make complete sense.
Well, are you thinking of Diesel and Natalie?
Yes.
Yeah, they are an odd couple for sure.
Yep.
But the funny thing is like after watching 10 episodes of this, you kind of lose track of time. The first couple episodes, they would say what day it was. I felt like, or certainly in the pilot. But by the 10th episode, they're no longer showing you the passage of day and night. Like it's really hard to tell because there's no light out the window. It's always like orange or green, and it feels like it's been months in a way. because they've already like run out of all their water.
Right, but
and
then,
you know, all these things that you associate with the passage of time, but then you realize it's been 2 days.
well, and also, there's the one conversation between Diesel and Natalie, and she's like, this has been the longest 5 days of my life or something like that. What are we? And she's like, what are we going to do when we get out of here? And it's like, okay, you know.
I think it's still only been 2 days, though, even when John Collins is there and he's talking about, I've been breathing that ash and smoke for the last 2 days. And you're like, wait, is that it?
Right.
It's only,
I think she
wow.
said 5 days, though. Natalie said 5.
Okay.
So,
well, then that even underlining my confusion as to how much time has passed and why things get very apocalyptic and relationships advance at a breakneck speed. But I guess they will when you're teenagers and
true.
hormones.
And you got to mix that stuff in. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there's, so, all right. Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel like the romantic scenes are kind of this show's version of the supermarket.
They
happy
are.
times.
They are, to
Yeah.
give them a little bit of like, lighthearted, cuddle time, I guess.
But it's also to fulfill the horror trope of people who have sex in janitor closets.
Yep.
Will then be put in. Actually, nobody's even. Actually, no. We did have a couple. We had one more cast member death in the second 6 episode, or the second half, I guess, or more than half of the show. In the first half of the show, you lose quite a few characters.
Yep.
Some of them you don't know very well, but certainly Mary was a big loss to the cast. And in the final 6, I'll just go ahead and say it. Spoiler alert, guys. It's Natalie who goes, and this is like not an insignificant death.
Nope.
Like we're talking a 7-month pregnant woman,
8
girl, I guess, because she 8, yeah. And she goes out like a martyr. But I know I'm jumping to the very end, but I don't really understand her sacrifice move because there are still apparently a dozen zombies in the school, and did I just miss them closing doors and sealing them somewhere?
I think that was implied, but I think
I don't think you can imply that.
This is what I'm talking about. Like, there's definitely some gaps in editing that leave certain things like, wait, why would that person do? And I had the same feeling, but I kind of felt like I had missed something.
Yeah, because immediately after that scene where we see Grover being like, "No, don't run after her. Don't try to help her. She's sacrificing herself to save us." They go back into the main school, and Diesel starts throwing furniture around. Zoe and Barrett start cuddling, and then it's the final scene where LaShawn reappears, and you're like, "Wait, why are they just hanging out in all these public areas of the school?" Which I assume the hallways are now.
Yeah.
Free
reign.
Zombie zone. Yeah. So it's a little bit confusing, but again, that is also the very last episode, and I don't know why I started there, but it was a confusing moment for me, and it was also a significant cast member death, which, like the goody two shoes, who turns out also to be pregnant, who also turns out to be not as uptight as we all thought she was. They've all had character arcs, maybe except for Grover. He's kind of stayed the
and
same.
they added in the other piece with her being poisoned too. So there was another reason why she was sacrificing herself, because it was clear she was going to either turn or die soon. So
they weren't giving her an antidote, that's for sure.
Nope. So, but let's hop back. I mean,
hopping back.
I do like, often there is like some kind of an outside force, medical crisis. We learn a lot of things about the LaShawn character and the Zoe character and the Barrett character. Well, the Barrett,
everybody,
dude.
really.
Yeah. But
I'm still not sure about Barrett.
Nobody's sure about Barrett. And dude, he acts so shady all the time, even when he's trying not to act shady. Like, I don't think any of these people would actually trust him. He gives weird side eye all the time in strange ways and in situations where you're like, wait, what was that? Like, why is he being so sketchy?
The insulin incident.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's like
when he's giving her the insulin, which he has squirted some of it into the sink for, I don't really understand why.
I think
the way that he gives it to her is super confusing.
Yeah. I think the reason why he did that is, for one thing, I think he thought that they were going to get rescued. For another thing, he doesn't. He always does these weird subversive things with LaShawn to try to get him out of the way. So I think this is part of it. And then even when he was giving the insulin to Zoe, I totally understand why she asked him the question, which was like, "What do you want for it?" Because he was acting.
He wasn't giving it. He wasn't giving it to her right away.
No, he was acting super shady.
Yeah.
So anyway, he's Shady Pants McGee. over there. And then, but LaShawn's whole thing, like, I did like how they, he's going through this diabetic, like, insulin crash, and like the sort of hallucinations he was having, I thought that was very well done and creepy. He keeps seeing his friend Noodle. He keeps seeing Zoe as a zombie. Like, guy is having a pretty rough time. And he even, I think, definitely has a little bit of a, like, his subconscious, like, is telling him that Barrett is not to be trusted. That little weird sort of vision with Barrett. And Noodle saying stuff about Barrett. So I think we've got that going on, although he then thanks Barrett later for saving his life.
And maybe that's what turns Barrett around, and that's what makes him think, I'm not going to be evil. The thing is, I don't really buy that.
No, me neither.
But as far as other characters, Diesel, who starts off the show as probably the main antagonist with Barrett, because Barrett's also just not cool. Mm-hmm. And with the cheerleader, Zoe.
Yep.
I guess, and Violet. There's a lot of quote
weird
unquote bad
people.
Yep.
Yep.
But they all essentially get turned around into at least shades of gray, if not just straight up good guys.
Well, and banding together, at least with each other, they're kind of trusting each other a little bit more, and you see them working as a team a lot. I think it's unlikely that Violet has all this chemical mastery and can create either, which is extraordinarily volatile. Yes.
She's the Alicia of this group. She's a high school student who can do incredible things.
Do I find this unlikely? Yes. I also find it unlikely that she wouldn't be in jail. But just because of, like, if she's, like, creating chemical bombs and stuff, and it seems like people seem to know she's doing this, I just don't know that she'd be, like, running around this high school like she is. But okay. Mm-hmm. We have them working together. They come up with plans. They come up with pretty good plans. So the whole thing with her creating the ether and also going to get it. There's like the bond between Violet and Zoe, and everybody sort of thinking Zoe isn't capable of doing things, and she was like, I'm a gymnastics champion. And so they, when they go out to get the supplies to make the ether, they, and they're running with the freak out there, and it's totally Zoe that, like, kind of takes him out, or at least takes him out. There's teamwork.
There's teamwork. There's a lot of screaming and running away. And honestly, screaming and running away is kind of a hallmark of how these kids deal with zombies too. Is like they have weapons on them, and they often drop them then run away. Okay,
but if you think about what would probably really happen if teenagers were trying to do this, I think this is a little bit more likely than somebody becoming a complete badass. So, or at least instantly a badass.
The show doesn't seem to want to make up its mind if these kids are
competent or not,
or just like actual teenagers who will just like drop a knife on the floor, and then even with the time to pick it up, you're not going to pick it up. You're just going to run away. But then they go find some acid and a paper cutter.
Yeah, I know.
And they make it work.
Some of it's a little too MacGyver-ish, if you ask me, but.
Maybe. But so Diesel's gone from being a total jerk to like being a sweetheart. Kind of overnight. Mm-hmm. Like at the beginning of the show, he's calling everybody a loser and being surly, and certainly by episode 5,
he's like a teddy bear.
He's just a big teddy bear.
He just wants to get with Natalie.
I just wanted to come and check on you, see how you're doing. Like as soon as he figures out that she's pregnant, I guess he's just like, "You're the girl for me." We also have and Zoe becomes okay too, because we understand now that she's just like. People just don't understand that she's capable. Mm-hmm. Although her shirt keeps getting smaller and smaller. I don't know.
Yeah, her midriff is like it being exposed more and more. And I'm just kind of like, come on. All I can, my instinct is to just, I keep being like, give that woman a t-shirt or something.
There's got to be shirts in that school.
She's got to be a little cold. I don't know. It seems a little strange, but. Okay.
Yeah, and I honestly feel like there's like 5 shirts that look like that in wardrobe, and it's just like for each episode it gets a little shorter,
little smaller.
It's so weird.
It is very strange.
By episode 7, there's the heist to go into the bunker, which I really like that whole scene basically. To go get the gas masks out of the shelter.
That was one of my favorite scenes actually in this second half. I thought that the choreography was great. I thought the premise was great because it's like basically, and at least this points to Violet not necessarily knowing everything. It's a little bit of a, guessing game, but she's convinced that what she's made will knock them out for 20 minutes. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Though, man, it's like, okay, they're stirring a little bit. You can see that they're stirring. That room isn't that big. Like, the bunker isn't that big. So it's sort of like, how did Grover get lost back there? Although apparently he got knocked out. So, okay. But the choreography of him, like, so basically there's this whole thing where they're like, okay, we're going to leave you in there if something happens. And then they hear him being like, help. And they're like, we have to have a plan. And the plan is to ram in with chairs like you're a bullfighter. Yep. And get Grover out. But I really loved Grover's sort of escape.
He was parkouring.
He ends up on some pipe up on the ceiling. Like, yeah. I enjoyed that. I thought that was a good job, and good choreography. Well done, Grover.
Yeah. It turns out the actor who plays Grover, whose name is Leo something, is actually a martial arts dude, Leo Howard.
Well, there you go.
He's a martial artist. So yeah, I think that they were like, what can you do? And he's like, I can jump off of walls onto beds. And they were like, yes, that's what we're going to do.
Although, did you ever hear the Spider-Man thing? What's his name? Tom Holland. Like, apparently, the new Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man. Apparently, when he was auditioning, he kept sending videos because he used to do gymnastics and stuff. So videos of himself doing flips and all this stuff. And they're on set at one point, and they're like, well, what can we have Spidey do here? And he's like, well, I could do a flip. And they're like, oh, you can flip? You can do gymnastics? And he was like, I was only sending them to you guys for like months, videos of myself doing flips, and also like it was just like this fun, I thought it was actually very cute, but very
Doesn't
funny.
He do a flip in the last movie? And
yes.
Some guy's like, yeah, go Spider-Man.
Yeah, he totally does. But, he was giving interviews. I think that might have been the scene.
That might have been the scene.
Where he was just like, why was I sending all these crazy, doing all these crazy gymnastics routines? Just, you guys didn't even know? So, anyway. I digress.
Well, everybody knew about Leo Howard, who plays Grover, who has Eddie Furlong's haircut from Terminator 2.
Oh my
everybody
gosh,
knew.
Totally does. And he looks a little like him, too, which is kind of weird.
He looks a tiny bit like him, yeah. It's every time he's on camera, I'm having a bit of a flashback to, like, 1990, whatever that year was. That was a cool segment. I liked the play of the ether. I like the fact that they don't really understand the freak biology. Like, they think they've killed one still at this point in the science wing. But and it looked like it had died, which was a little bit odd for a zombie show. Like, you stab it in the chest and it kind of like it stops moving.
It didn't entirely though, because he was kind of like scrabbling around on the ground, sucking up its own. Like it had not completely. At least they thought they had disabled it, and it was kind of like pinioned with the flagpole or whatever it was.
I thought they killed it, but
I did not, because he was just scrabbling around. I just thought he was kind of trapped. So yeah. He wasn't completely still even when they were up through the air vent, but I think they thought that he was on his way anyway. Mm-hmm. I also like...
But so they're figuring out how to kill these things, and they do eventually show that a headshot or a neck slice apparently will also take them out.
I did like the whole sort of... Well, I felt like they didn't use it enough, but like, the one spear zombie that went up through the air vents, that was kind of a scary, terrifying thing to do. And then I felt like, I don't know, are you really going to go up into the air vents if you hear something scrabbling around up there? Probably not. Diesel's goes,
just
of course.
A tough guy.
And of course, and they do the jump scare, of course, and it was just
they do the jump scare, but then Diesel like falls off the ladder, and then they all run away. I
know, I was just sort of like, oh my gosh, you just totally wasted this whole sort of big setup, because you've had this thing scrabbling around in the air vents for like what feels like days, but apparently in this timeline could be only like an hour. Who knows?
It did really feel like they were delaying the payoff of the zombie in the air vents, because they kept showing it like. That it pushed its face up against the vent to the point where it had like deformed the metal and the blood was coming out.
Yeah.
I'm like, how did nobody just see that? Like that, they just all walked past this thing. I'm like, I'm sorry, there's blood coming out of that air vent that's not on the ceiling.
If it's exerting that much, and those look, those vents and things are really loud. They're going to be hearing it. They're
held in
delicate.
by tiny screws.
It's not delicate. Yeah. I just feel like, I don't know. So I felt like that was a little bit strange, but a good idea. And I liked sort of part of it, but you're right. Then like they all run away. I did think that the attempted bite on Diesel was kind of cool, because when it actually falls through the vent on him, it tries to bite him through his sheepskin jacket or whatever the heck he's wearing.
Multiple layers of
his many
hoodies
layers.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good. He made a scream that made it sound like he was actually getting bit, but yeah. So I think they're doing a lot of things right, honestly. It's just that some of the pacing is wrong, and then once LaShawn leaves,
Yeah.
which is great, I'm glad that they send someone outside finally, like, and all
Yes.
that work to get the gas masks, and they only end up with one that's working. And LaShawn goes outside, and it's very apocalyptic, the scenes that he's
Although,
having.
did you have this moment when Barrett supposedly picked out his name where it probably wasn't LaShawn's name? Because I kind of thought that too.
I mean, I wouldn't let Barrett do any of the
No,
voting.
I was just like, let's get Barrett's hot little hand out of that bowl. You know, let's not have him be picking.
I have a feeling the show, because they didn't make any insinuations to that effect, that they're not even messing with it. I feel like they might even be suggesting that Barrett has
Flipped.
come around to some extent, even though he's kind of putting the moves on Zoe by the time LaShawn returns.
Yeah.
But these next several episodes, LaShawn is out in the world. They kind of, and maybe he's dead because they lose contact with him. And then life kind of just goes on inside. Like, Zoe is sometimes bringing him up, but mostly they're just concerned about, like, who's John Collins, and
Well, we should probably talk about John Collins.
I don't know. What I'm saying is they don't seem that concerned or sad about LaShawn after one episode.
No, they stopped talking about after the weird sort of thing where all of Zoe's LaShawn shrieking into the walkie-talkie, which probably will get him killed, or it feels like it might have gotten him killed. Then it's sort of like, oh, I'm so sad, but then nothing. Although she does bring him up, and so this John Collins character,
John Collins,
who we're talking about, is he's a gent dressed in a hazmat suit, supposedly at the time when he first sort of makes an appearance, seems like he's a legit rescue effort. Though he's totally acting a little crazy. He does some shady things, definitely.
Well, he also turns on the water right away, which is great.
Yep.
So it makes it seem like he is legit, that he has someone on the other end of his sat phone, whereas these guys have had no communications except for Barrett.
True. But he also it just feels like the rescue effort feels a little bit slow. And, and
he's by himself.
Yeah. So that feels a little strange. And he's very concerned about who is who. That also tipped me off that something was not quite right. Though, I mean, Diesel feels very much like he can trust this guy from the get-go. Just kind of buys into it fully.
Because Diesel obviously loves authority figures, right? That's his character.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, I was very skeptical of Diesel's reaction to this guy simply because of that.
Well, Diesel's come a long way since yesterday.
I guess. Now he's like getting some kissing in.
Yep.
Trust authority. So anyway, what does continue is Barrett's super crazy, sketchy behavior. And so we've had him sort of, he seems like he's being okay with Zoe, though he has his own motives. He always keeps mentioning how she has LaShawn and blah, blah, blah. And she's the only one who supports him. And then, we definitely have his skepticism of John Collins and the stuff that he's trying to wipe off of the hard drives, and his confession that he's part of a hacker group that had hacked into Keller. So, and that sort of sets things in motion with John Collins, who seems initially like he's normal. I do think that his immediate thing where he's like, oh, you guys should all get vaccines. I was like, oh, hells no. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I would, you know what? Like I'm not as cynical as H.A. Conrad, maybe. I've had so many injections from the government that maybe I just think that that's normal. But I do get really itchy. However, I probably would have just
from the
trusted
injections or just from the thoughts of it?
all the time.
Really?
All the time. No, yeah, it's from the injections. Honestly, it was from my anthrax, and that stopped happening for the most part. Used to get a bump every 6 months or so.
Ooh. Well, that's anthrax for you.
There you go. That's the anthrax. Just letting you know it's still in there.
Oh, God.
But Tom Collins, John, I keep calling him Tom Collins
because of the drink. I felt the same way.
Tom Collins, not as cool as a Tom Collins. He eventually becomes less and less chill to the point where he knocks out Grover when Grover is helping him find Barrett. This is where the show kind of gets away from being a zombie show a little bit and turns into just a teenage drama. But, adult Tom Collins is the first adult they've run into in a while, other than Mrs. Fraser or Freakish or whatever, the biology teacher who's a zombie. And I'm starting to wonder if this isn't going to be one of those shows where all adults
Are bad.
are evil.
Yep.
And that's fine. Sure, whatever. If that's the genre, we can make it work, because that also maintains the Lord of the Flies element. I mean, Coach wasn't the bad guy. Coach was okay, but he got
eaten pretty quickly.
Yes. So Tom Collins ends up hunting the children.
We're just going to revert. Let's just call him Tom Collins from now on.
I'm there. I'm already there. And there's a scene in the like metal shop or wood shop or whatever it is, where he's got Grover and Zoe or Violet are in there.
Yep.
And again, this is one of these scenes where Violet picks up a nail gun and shoots him twice with nails, and then drops the nail gun and tries to run away. And Tom Collins is like, "No, I'm going to catch you because they're just nails, and I'm a grown man, and I guess I'm tough."
Yeah.
And so I don't know, like, again, once again, they don't like, and Grover doesn't take advantage of Collins being shot to like whack him with his.
It's very slow. Their reactions, even when they have these plans to like get Tom Collins, and it's like, okay.
I don't think that was the plan. I think the plan was shoot him a couple times and run away. That was their plan.
It's just like, what did you think was going to happen after that? I don't know, but in
they're
that
really
way,
passive aggressive in a way. Like, even when they take him out in a super passive aggressive way.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess this is also like kind of like a little bit teenagery in that, that they kind of like don't really think about what comes next. So maybe that's kind of what they're going for. But it seems kind of strange to me that was their plan, because this guy is like dangerous and trained and armed, and so it's sort of like, no, you kind of have to really take him out or disable him in a way that he's not going to come after you. So
Diesel has been also shot by this point, and because also he dropped a gun and ran away, and then Tom Collins shot him in the back, because that's what happens when you drop a gun and then run away from it and leave the other person to pick it up. So I don't know if Diesel's going to have like gunshot repercussions, or if it's just one of these like amazing TV gunshots that don't actually hit any organs, other than make you bleed for a while. Like Rick Grimes has been shot that way. So eventually they like do this tricky thing to Collins's hazmat suit, but not before he releases all the zombies from the basement, which is what leads to Natalie's ultimate martyr sacrifice. Mm-hmm. And there's probably a dozen or so down there. There's more than these kids can handle.
Right.
But they set an alarm to go off on his suit, Collins' suit, when he's outside, which draws immediately lots of freaks or zombies. And so that's what's terrifying about that, is just that, why are these kids even thinking about going outside?
Right.
It's bad out there.
Yep.
That's kind of that gets us to the end of the show. Pretty much,
except although we got the LaShawn piece.
There's that reveal. Yeah.
So, and there's a few other things. One is that, Violet asks Tom Collins just about the explosion, and she finally reveals what she did, which is supposedly, and by the way, a little crazy, like the guy, like she's going to blow up his car. So
his name's Zane.
Yeah. So she was dating some guy, Zane, who worked at Keller, the chemical plant, and she blew up his cherry red pickup truck because he was a cheating fool or something. And she thinks that has caused the explosion. But, I don't know. It seemed like the explosion at the chemical plant was a lot more massive than what she is describing, though we've seen she is not necessarily the most delicate or whatever in terms of the things that she's putting together. So maybe she misjudged. But then the Tom Collins guy really seemed to say, no, there was some big accident there. So he definitely seems like that something else has happened.
Do you believe anything this guy's telling you?
No, but then again, we see, so then we've got like that whole thing going on. I think the other reveal is that Grover was supposed to be picked up or rescued or something. That's the other part. And then LaShawn's
retrieval
appearance.
Subject.
Right. So, and remember, both his parents work at the chemical plant, so who knows? Maybe there's something, maybe they have enough power to be able to go and fetch him. And then in terms of LaShawn's like entrance, which must really suck since Zoe's getting so cuddly with Barrett, she seems to have forgotten him completely.
Also, he comes in the back door when everybody who's apparently followed him is coming in the front door, which is odd. Yeah,
don't you think so?
So, LaShawn isn't dead. That's the good news. The bad news is he seems a little uncertain about the people that he's brought back to the school with him.
Yep.
But then we don't get to find out anything else because that's the end of the season. But luckily, there's a season 2.
True. So we can talk
Unluckily, we're not going to review that right now.
I don't think we can because we also have a few other interesting things going on, like Fear the Walking Dead mid-season premiere is going to be happening tonight. Yeah. What else? Did you want to do that, or did you want to do something else?
Well, I think we should keep up with Fear the Walking Dead.
Agree.
Let's give them enough rope to do with what they will, and then we will review, I'm sure, Patient Zero shortly after that.
Agreed. All right, that sounds good. So in a nutshell, I think that our review is, well, I think yours is a little bit more positive than mine, but I definitely think if you're just in the mood for some kind of popcorn, this is it. And it's a little bit silly, and some of it's a lot of fun. So I say take a gander. 20 minutes, not that much of a time suck, as long as you don't watch like 10 episodes in a row like we did, or however many it was. It felt like 20 episodes in a row to me. But until next time, I mean, we'll be discussing the premiere of Fear the Walking Dead next time, and continue on that train. I am really curious to see how it goes. So I am very interested to see what they do in in the second half without one of our intrepid heroes with that big reveal at the end. So we'll see.
Yep. And one final word on Freakish season 1 is that, like, this is popcorn zombie fare, but it is not. It's way better than things like Santa Clarita Diet.
Oh, no, it is not.
iZombie.
You are so wrong. You're so wrong. You're confusing. This is definitely not. We're definitely on opposite sides of the fence on this one. Those are two entirely different things.
I know, but when you talk about popcorn or lightweight zombie fare, those are two of the titles that pop into my head.
But those are more zombie comedy or dramedy, which is very different from this.
I would put them all in the kind of the same general box, but this one is in the top of the box. Well, that's not really a metaphor, but do with that what you will.
Always fun, Mr. Tiffin. I can't believe. Did you watch the second season of Santa Clarita Diet?
Couldn't even finish the first season of Santa
Oh
Clarita
my
Diet.
gosh. Okay. Well, anyway. But if you like Santa Clarita, no. Let us know if you have any thoughts about Freakish season 1. Throw us a line at reanimatedpodcast@gmail.com? Yes.
Oh my God.
I
5 years.
I know. I can't do it. It's terrible. reanimatedpodcast@gmail.com. Leave us a line, reanimatedpodcast.com. Or tweet at us, reanimatedpcast, on
That's
the Twitters.
All correct. Well done. And until next time.
When I mess up our Gmail account again.
One more time.
Have a good one, everybody. Ciao.
Bye-bye.